the fact that there exists a movie about a cannibalistic killing Winnie-the-Pooh that doesn't include a creepy version of the song Teddy Bear's Picnic is immediately a huge point off. Hello, geeks, freaks, and all those unique. This is Emcee Frodis. As someone who lived through the grimdark 90s, I've had a great deal of experience with darker and edgier versions of children's stories. We have things like Fables, which portrays Geppetto as a warmonger, and Fables begat Once Upon a Time, which gave us far darker and more complex versions of classic Disney characters. Neil Gaiman has tackled the topic numerous times with Snow Glass Apples, giving us a darker Snow White, and The Problem with Susan, making Narnia darker. Alan Moore has also delved into this concept at different times with The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Lost Girls. Todd McFarlane even turned the idea into a line of toys, producing twisted fairy tales, with horrific, usually cannibalistic men and half-naked women. I can't even list all of the instances of darker and edgier versions of Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz, and Little Red Riding Hood, because honestly, they are the only versions we get in the modern day. It's actually kind of a cliche at this point. But just in time for Winnie-the-Pooh to hit the public domain, we get the slasher horror movie Winnie-the-Pooh, Blood and Honey. The brief summary of the film is that when he goes off to college, Christopher Robin leaves the denizens of the 100-acre woods to fend for themselves. They turn feral, cannibalize poor Eeyore, and then take their rage out on any human that crosses their path. Now, here's the thing. I actually like grimdark versions of children's stories. I think this speaks to something primal inside of us. They are the first stories that any of us have experience in, so having them be perverted is automatically unsettling. However, that doesn't mean that a movie can just coast on this initial gut feeling alone, and that's what Blood and Honey expects. They think we'll be so horrified at seeing Pooh and Piglet massacring people that there doesn't need to be anything else. And there really isn't anything else. There is absolutely no nuance, no care spent on these characters. The most interesting story, how Pooh and Piglet ended up like this, is shoved into a cheaply animated opening sequence. I didn't feel like I was watching Winnie-the-Pooh murder a bunch of random hot girls. I thought I was watching a rando serial killer in a Winnie-the-Pooh mask. This guy has as much in common with Winnie-the-Pooh as Michael Myers has Captain Kirk. Rhys Frake Waterfield, the writer and director of the movie, claims he kept the characters more generic in order to avoid the wrath of Disney. But here's the solution if you're so terrified of Disney's lawyers. Don't make the movie! Or at the very least, lean into the original book. There is plenty of stuff that can be used that wouldn't be encroaching on Disney. Seriously, I know. I still own the copy of Winnie-the-Pooh my mother read to me every night when I was a kid. Hell, we didn't even see any honey in this Blood and Honey movie. Frankly, I would be surprised if I were told that Frake Waterfield ever read the original Winnie-the-Pooh book. If you were really feeling put upon about content, he could have waited for a year until The House at Pooh Corner was in public domain so you had more stuff to draw from. One of the reasons American McGee's Alice video game is still considered one of the greatest examples of a darker and edgier children's story is because of the attention to detail. It draws elements from Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass, and other Lewis Carroll works. It actually feels like it could be a version of the Alice story, just with the details twisted into something horrific. None of this is present in Blood and Honey, nor are any of the original characters developed in any interesting way, just serving as attractive victims for Pooh and Piglet to slaughter ad nauseum. The only one with any development, Christopher Robin, disappears from the movie for nearly its entire length. This isn't a bad movie. I actually quite like a bad movie. This is a boring movie, and that's the bigger sin. I think something interesting could have been made out of it, but it would have had to focus on the start of darkness. How terrifying would it have been to see the slow transformation of our beloved childhood characters into eating one of their own before turning on the boy who had abandoned them? Don't just show all of that in a 2-minute prologue. That's your movie. Considering how much disembowelment was in this film, it was completely gutless when dealing with the source material. I can't even drag this review out too long, because there's really nothing much to talk about. I mean, I could go on about how terrible it is, but what's the point? The filmmaker clearly didn't put any thought into making this movie, so I shouldn't put any thought into reviewing it. This is apparently kicking off a slasher cinematic universe where next Bambi is going to be getting revenge on hunters or something, and then Peter Pan is going to be an evil stalker obsessed with flying into young girls' rooms. Which is basically the plot of Peter Pan as it is. Like I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going darker and edgier when it comes to children's stories. But what's missing here is an actual respect for the original work. What if this beloved children's character was evil is the elevator pitch, but that can't be your entire movie. You have to deeply explore the elements of the original work and twist them around. I really hate when something like this comes out, when I'm certain I could have done something much more interesting. One of the problems with being a writer, I suppose, and also the whole point of my Script Doctor series. So tell me if that's something you would like to see, me rewriting this movie into something more cool. Comment down below. If you like my videos, subscribe to my channel. We are so close to my next goal, I can just taste it. Come on, 400! I do videos about Buffy, Doctor Who, Marvel, Star Trek, Star Wars, and lots of other geeky things. Be sure to catch the daily short series, The Headcanon Minute. If you want to support me, please visit my Patreon. You can also buy me a coffee, or you can go to my Redbubble and TeePublic to buy my geeky graphic designs. You can find me on all platforms, as well as social media, as Emcee Frodis. So until next time, live long, and may the Force be with you.